I'm in a logo designers group on Facebook, Logo Geek, and there's about 6,000 designers in there. And there was a discussion recently about using the TM symbol. And obviously I'd done my video on TM and registered, and not many people know about service mark. Not many people know that that's an actual thing as well, because, you know, you didn't product, they're interchangeable, I suppose, but it came about because someone had posted in logos that they'd done over the past year, and every single one of them had the little R symbol next to it. And so I was like, every one of your clients registered their logo. Oh, no, I've just got that. And I said, well, technically, you cannot do that because you have not got a registered trademark on it. You cannot. You said you could put the TM symbol there because you're basically asserting that you own that logo, but you can't put the registered R because you have not gone through the process. You kind of get a lot of, oh, it's just for my portfolio and stuff. It's like, yeah, but that then makes a mockery of people who've gone through the process of registering, you know, and paying for the trademark. It's difficult. And here's another question that's popped into my head, because someone asked me it the other day on my YouTube channel. Their client had just registered, they were in the States, their client had just registered their logo. They were getting some materials made, business cards, brochures. And the person that asked me had said they want to use the R symbol on the logo everywhere. And I think it looks a bit messy. And I was thinking to myself, well, you can have it really, really tiny on the logo. It doesn't have to be big. I mean, it's not like you've not got it the same size of the logo, have you? But the question is, once you've registered the trademark, in order for you to be able to defend that trademark, should you have the R symbol every time your logo is produced?
That's a good question. So you don't have to have it on every single publication, advertisement, product packaging. I mean, you don't have to have it on every single thing. But listen, if I've gone through the hard work
yeah,
and invested that money, you know, and I know that that's what's best for me to insure me against someone ripping it off, then why wouldn't I use it?
Pretty much what I said in my answer. I said they probably just are really excited and want to use it. And so my advice was to just make it small. You know, it should be fairly inobtrusive. And when I'm designing logos, I try to bear that in mind and say, right, if the client registers this as a trademark, where would I place the R symbol? Because I don't think there's a specific rule to where it needs to go. Generally, it will go upper right or lower right. But as you say, it doesn't have to appear there because it may well appear somewhere else in the small print. You know, Coca-Cola is a registered trademark of.
Oh, right.
So it's on somewhere, but it doesn't have to be on the logo. That's something that I didn't know. So I've learned that today. So that's really good. I might actually try and find that comment and go back and say, yes, your client wants it all the time, but technically they don't have to use it. So if you feel very strongly that it's maybe not working or offsetting a design, which I can't see how it would, then you could say, like, we really don't have to use it here. That's good, because I did not know the answer to that one. So thank you for that.
But I don't know. I still stand by the fact that if you've invested that kind of money and you feel like something so minuscule in size, I mean, is going to affect the perception of your brand, I don't know. I feel like you have bigger problems coming.
Yeah. I think one thing I noticed as well was looking at my own brand and registration, which I haven't done yet. So that's really bad. I keep putting it's one of those things. I must do that. I actually looked at registering it in the States because I have a few clients in the US. And actually in 2016, someone started up a graphic design company called Pixels Inc. in the States. And I was like, man, you know, and I said, well, I wouldn't have been able to do anything anyway because I would only have a UK trademark. So it doesn't really make a difference. But when I looked, I thought, you know, I'm going to just check and see how much it costs to register from the USPTO and see what that is. If I'd have done it, I think it was before August last year, it would have just been the fee to do it. But now, as someone outside the US, I have to hire an American IP lawyer to handle that. So that's instantly going to add on, I don't know, $800,000 on top of. So I'm now just like, I should have done this before.
I think I think, in the last couple of years, I think the USPTO has become congested with applicants that maybe aren't well versed in the process.
Yeah.
Things get filed that shouldn't get filed. And so I think that is their way of saying, you know what, we're a little bit frustrated and we're putting a stop to it by making sure that you have someone who knows what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, it's almost a filter, isn't it? It's like, let's filter this so that we're only getting good applications that will probably succeed rather than, because in the UK, there's, like I say, it was £250 and £50 per extra category you want to go in, but you can submit a trademark and pay half, or it's slightly over half. I think it's £150, and they will go through the process up to a point and get back to you and say whether they think it will pass or not. And you have the option then of going, right, well, I won't proceed. So you're only spending £150 instead of £250, but if you want to proceed, it's another £150. So you pay a little bit more, but you get that. You're kind of getting the help of a professional by submitting it, and they do a little bit of looking around and say, yeah, that's fine. Do you want to proceed? And then they'll go, we have some issues that you might want to look at. We don't think this will succeed. Do you have that in the US as well?
Yeah, we have something that's kind of equivalent. So we have what's called an intent to use application. And that basically means, listen, I'm not using my mark yet, but I do plan to use it within the next couple of months. You still have to pay an application fee of $275. So really, the USPTO doesn't give you any leeway.
Right.
They say you pay the fee. And in fact, they say if we give you the green light, then you're going to have to pay us an extra $100 when you submit proof to us of how you are using that mark in commerce.
Right. Yeah.
So instead of the discount, it's more like you pay the premium.
You're paying more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd imagine then more people just go straight to the trademarking rather than intent.
I mean, I think it really depends. I think that clients that I was going to say that, clients who are willing to invest in the 1B route and pay that small extra premium, it's usually companies that are really, really serious about their branding.
Right. Yeah.
And they have good intentions of what they're going to do. For them, paying an extra $100 is actually a really small investment. Because it allows them to gauge whether or not the name is good to go and whether or not they have the green light, and it's coming straight from the horse's mouth. So it's not coming from an attorney who says, well, maybe, we have a good chance. Because like I said, it's a chance until the horse says go.
Yeah.
So when the USPTO gives you that green light, it's kind of like, okay, for sure. That's my for sure that I'm good to go. And to pay $100 extra for that, I can now go and invest in my branding, my advertising materials, my packaging. Whereas if I had done it the other way around, investing in my packaging and branding and filed that application and they said no, then I'm out a lot more than just $100.
Definitely. I mean, it's not even $100 it's not a lot for a big company, but really in the scheme of things, it's not a lot to pay for that confidence that everything's okay. I've had a client in the past who has gone ahead. I didn't do the branding, but they came to me afterwards for other stuff. They went ahead based purely on the fact that they were able to buy the website domain name. They thought because the domain name was available that no one was trading under that company name, and boy, were they wrong.
I think that is such an important point that you brought up, and in none of my interviews, has that been brought up. And I love that you brought it up. It's so, so, so important. Just because the domain is available, it doesn't mean that the trademark is available, which is a really big deal because in the big picture, the trademark will take precedence.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So your name or your brand name, if it's registered, allows you a leverage to be able to take someone's domain from them. And it's not that your domain has leverage. It's the trademark that has leverage. So be careful and make sure you know what the hierarchy is.
Yeah, I think people just think website. If I've got the website, then I'm good. I'm safe. It'll be fine. And it's not, because I think, especially when I work with clients and, if the client has a company name and they try to get the domain. Oh, the domain name's gone. It's like, do you need the domain name to be your company name? Not necessarily. There's a good example of I think it's an American company. It's the Peanut Butter Company Limited. So they had that domain name, but it was quite long-winded and people couldn't remember if it needed limited on the end or not. So they bought ilovepeanutbutter.com. That's much easier to remember. I try to push my clients down that route as well and say, get a memorable name, because one of my frustrations right now is this trend of, because you can't get a word, remove a letter. So if it's flutter, remove the E, so it's still flutter.
Oh yeah.
But people don't search that way or type that. People don't go, oh, I can't find it. Oh, I know what I'll do. They must have removed the E. You don't think that way. A good example of that is I've got my business name's Pixels Inc. It's not the longest name in the world, but I do use a K for the ink part. So it's a play on Pixels Incorporated. Because when I came up with the company name, Monsters Inc. was out at the cinema at that time. And I was like, oh, Pixels Inc. Because I deal with pixels. And it was INC. And then, I could be really clever and have pixels and ink. That would be good. So I got that, but I've also got the domain names with a C, just in case people spell it wrong. But I've more recently bought rockyourbrand.co.uk because of all of this stuff, because I'm generally pushing branding off the back of that. Rockyourbrand.com's already taken. I think that's a promotional merchandise company. So they're talking about rocking your brand through print, where I'm talking about rocking your brand through strategy and design. So there's a difference there, but we'll see if they come a knocking for that. But I was really surprised that rockyourbrand.co.uk, which is the .co.uk is the big one for us in the UK, was available. I was blown away that was there. But that's a good example of, if I didn't know any better, I'd be like, oh, rockyourbrand.co.uk is available. I'm going to go trademark that. To be honest, I've looked at the trademark and I don't think there's a UK one. There's one in Germany that's been trademarked. They're a brand design company. So it depends on how far I'd want to take it. But I just wanted to bring that up. And thankfully you said that it's a good thing to bring up because no one has. But I do think people put an awful lot of weight into website domain names and social media handles. I think they are way more powerful than they actually are. And as you said, all it takes is the person to come along who has the registered trademark and say, well, you're never going to be able to use those, so you might as well give them to us. And you couldn't even try and sell it for a lot of money, because they could probably go to court and say, well, they are just trying to get a lot of money, or squat on a domain name and try to get as much money for it. And I don't know if courts would rule in favor of a trademark holder and say to the owner of the domain name, you can't possibly get them to pay that because you're just, I suppose extortion may be a word. But yeah, I want to bring that up because I've had someone come to me where they've had to start again because a trademark holder said, no, we have that. Mm-hmm. And they'd spent a lot of money up to that point on all their branding. So quite scary.
Well, listen, I want to end this podcast on a high note, which is everything you just mentioned right now, because I think that those were at least just two very central issues to this trademark process that aren't necessarily highlighted, most especially by guests. And so I want to thank you for having as much knowledge as you do about the trademark process, because I think it shows that you're invested in your clients, and that you do your research, and that you are an expert in your field, and that you're doing your best to educate yourself so that you can pass on that knowledge to the people that are looking to you for guidance, really, because they don't have the time or they don't have the knowledge, and that's why they come to people like you and to me, but usually more so to you because they're interested in how pretty their logo and their branding is going to look.
Yeah, and then I come to you.
Right.
On their behalf. Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. I think everyone wants they want the pretty picture and the kind of the exciting creative element. And I do think I let them down a little bit at the start when I say, okay, before we get to that, let's do a lot of really heavy lifting and talk about research and strategy. And they're like, oh, I thought I was going to get a logo. Well, you will, but let's get this done first because it's important. And it all everything, when it all comes together as a whole, when you've done all of that, it's a much more effective brand. When you get it all trademarked, you just feel safe and comfortable because you know that it's all protected and the money you've spent isn't going to be a waste. It's, to anyone who's watching this, who's thinking or is going through that process and thinking, can't really afford to trademark, I really do think you should look at what else you're looking to spend something on and divert that money to trademarking, and then, you know, look at that other thing later, because you could lose everything.
You could lose everything. And then you could be crying for a different reason, not because you're
not because you're happy,
but now because you're going to have to unattach yourself from your business baby.
Yeah, and we're gonna should have listened to what they said on that YouTube video, but I didn't.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Cole. I really appreciate you being.
Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
This was a great little exchange, and I'm sure that people will take your all your tidbits and all my tidbits and, you know, move forward in the right direction.
That's what it's about, isn't it? It's just about helping people do the right thing and not make mistakes that, you know, can easily be prevented.
Right. All right. Well, have yourself a good day, and make sure to subscribe to Cole's channel, which we will link down below.
Awesome.